Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by and welcome to the Florida Chamber Small Business Council conference call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. After the speaker's presentation, there will be a question-and-answer session. To ask a question during the session, you will need to press star 1 on your telephone. If you require any further assistance, please press star 0. I would now like to hand the conference over to your speaker today, Glenda Hood. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to this special Florida Chamber Small Business Council call. I am Glenda Hood, and I serve as chair of the Florida Chamber Small Business Council, as well as a member of the Florida Chamber Board of Directors. And like many of you, I'm also a small business owner. I operate Hood Partners here in Orlando. The Florida Chamber and its Small Business Council has been committed to disseminating information during this difficult time for all of us. And this will be the first of many calls as we try to provide resources so that businesses across Florida can survive COVID-19. The Chamber has also done a great job of providing the facts during this unprecedented time. And I hope that many of you have visited the Florida Chamber's website to receive the daily emails. If you haven't, please visit floridachamber.com/coronavirus. Again, floridachamber.com/coronavirus. Earlier this week, the Florida Chamber hosted a call with Governor Ron DeSantis and Florida Surgeon General Scott Rivkin, in which 3,000 of our chamber members participated. So getting more Floridians tested and keeping Floridians safe so that we can eventually get everyone back to work continues to be the top priority for all of us. And now that Congress has passed the third relief package late last week, which was supported by the Florida Chamber, resources will soon be on the way to assist small businesses. The Florida Chamber team has been working around the clock, and today's call is designed to answer as many of the small business lending questions as possible. We have a team of experts on our call today. So with that, I am delighted to first introduce you to Ashley Bell, SBA Regional Administrator for Region 4 and the White House Policy Advisor for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Ashley oversees SBA programs, offices, and operations across the southeastern United States, where thousands of aspiring and existing entrepreneurs receive high-quality assistance, including the SBA-backed loans that are valued at over $5 billion. Ashley was appointed by the President to serve as the White House Policy Advisor for Entrepreneurship and Innovation and is the SBA's point person for the agency's role in the nationwide Opportunity Zone effort. Administrator Bell, I welcome you to the call this morning, and we look forward to hearing the information that you're going to share with us.
Thank you for that introduction. I do appreciate you providing this resource not only to small businesses, but to nonprofits as well. As you know, this legislation is all it has stretched SBA's normal duties out to help out small businesses as well as our nonprofits and chambers. And I appreciate your leadership. And I thank all our friends at the Florida Chamber for the work that you do. And this is an incredible opportunity for us to share some vital information as it relates to our businesses getting back on track. And there's nothing more important than making sure that our businesses that employ the people we love and support the communities we care about being in a position to thrive. And I think this stimulus package has given us tools to really start building our future again. And I want to start by saying that today's the day that we got more information on the payroll protection program. And I want to start there because I know that's where we're getting a lot of the calls, and the rules have slightly changed in the last 48 hours to give more clarity to small business owners. So I want to make sure I have a chance to go through that, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But the payroll protection program originally had a 4% interest rate on that, but that has been lowered by the Fed to 0.5%, which is an incredible reduction there for small business owners. And the payroll protection program, for those who don't know about it, I'm pretty sure most of you have tried to read about it as much as you can, but it allows us to take your payroll that you have for 8 weeks, and you can get a normal SBA loan, a 7A loan on that, and that can be turned into a forgivable loan, making it a grant. And that's important because the purpose of this program is to make sure we're hiring people and we're getting people back to work, or at least back on payroll, so they're not unemployed. So if you have employees that you want to hire back that you may have let go already after February 15th, and this is a great opportunity to get them back on your payrolls, and by using this tool. Another interesting change to that is that the maturity rate on this loan is now 2 years, and if you starting April 3rd, 2020, small businesses and sole proprietorships can apply, and starting April 10th, 2020, independent contractors and self-employed individuals can apply. And we really encourage people to make sure if whatever date applies to you to do that sooner rather than later. And the best source of specific information on this is going to be your lender, because unlike the disaster loan, which is a loan that you can get directly from SBA, this loan will go directly through your normal lender. And I think that any of the bankers in Florida has great bankers and the Great Bankers Association that's been very supportive of us. All the banks want to make sure that their clients are being taken care of, their customers are being taken care of. So make sure you go to your bank in particular and make sure that they understand that you're interested in this, and they can give you what their particular methodology will be as far as applying for the payroll protection loan. Now, I want to shift over just a little bit to talk about what that means for the disaster side of the house. And we've had a tremendous response. Millions of people across the country have applied for this disaster assistance. And honestly, I don't have to go into too much detail because Florida business owners know more about this program than anybody. You is very, very familiar with it. You know it well. Just because of all the times you've had to interact with our office through various hurricanes and other natural disasters that you've seen over the years. But, the key feature here that's different than what you normally have seen from a hurricane is the $10,000 emergency advance. That is a very critical tool that we've seen literally save doors from shutting. If you can apply online at sba.gov/disaster, and that will allow you to receive a $10,000 advance in up to 72 hours from applying. That can be used to keep your doors open, to keep your payroll going, and that's important for a lot of people. And so we're seeing those being approved at an astronomical rate. So if you have not done that and it's something that can benefit you in your business, please do so, because that advance is forgivable, meaning that you won't have to pay that back. And if you're a nonprofit out there as well, these are times where SBA can be of assistance to you as well, because we do have, depending on your nonprofit status, one of these two programs are available to you. And if you're a member of an organization that helps serve underserved communities, minorities, women-owned businesses, and your job is to help people figure this out and be of help to them, then MBDA, which is strong in the state of Florida, which is the Minority Business Development Agency under Commerce, the stimulus package gave them $10 million to allocate into grants to small chambers and small associations that help in underserved communities, to help them understand and make sure that they can benefit from this legislation as well. So with those tools we have, as well as if you have a current SBA loan, we're making sure that we're paying 6 months of that for you to make sure you don't have to worry about that SBA loan during this time. If you need questions about that, please make sure you contact your lender on taking advantage of that tool as well. And that's at the high level, sort of, where we're seeing the most activity is on the EIDL loans right now. And then we have the dates I've given you. The payroll protection plan is going to come on board for you. And if we have 2 offices in the state of Florida, in Jacksonville and in Tallahassee. And we have great, I never miss the opportunity to say that, the best SBDC in the country is here in Florida. You have great resources with Mike Meyer and his team that are just outstanding and ahead of the game when it comes to making sure they understand all of SBA's resources. So with that, I do appreciate your time of getting a chance to address you, and look forward to sticking around answering the questions that I can while I can.
Thank you, Administrator Bell. We appreciate your comments, and we will take questions at the end of the call. And you set it up well for me, because Michael Myrie is the next speaker. And Mike is the Chief Executive Officer of Florida Small Business Development Center, SBDC Network. And in his role, Michael leads the statewide network of more than 40 offices and over 200 employees that provide strategic vision and oversight in the continued success of Florida's designated Principal Business Assistance Organization for small and medium-sized businesses. Michael has more than 25 years of economic development experience. He serves as the chair of America's SBDC, as well as on the boards of CareerSource Florida, Florida Chamber, the FEDC, and the Chamber's Small Business Council Advisory Board. Mike, as always, we appreciate you being with us, and we're looking forward to hearing more about the programs available to help our small businesses. Mike?
Thank you, Glenda, and thank you to the Florida Chamber for this forum and opportunity to spread the word about what is available to our state's most important economic contributors, and that's our small businesses. I could never underestimate the contributions that our 2.5 million small businesses make to Florida and Florida's economic well-being. Over 43% of our economy in Florida is supported by the activities and investments that our small businesses make, and that's well known and understood by our leaders, by our governor, by our legislators, and therefore they put their money where their mouth is in that understanding. We have a very unique tool in Florida, and that's the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program. This program was created actually back during the administration of Jeb Bush when in the Florida legislature, recognizing that it took time for federal assistance to often reach our small businesses, and that each minute and day that passed that our small businesses didn't have the necessary or emergency capital that they needed to immediately begin operations and quickly, they created the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program. Now, this program provides up to $50,000 to eligible small businesses. Eligible small businesses are those that actively operate an enterprise that is physically located in Florida, that has a minimum of 2 but no more than 100 employees, and obviously those that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a fantastic program for those that have applied but have yet received a word about their application. I'm asking you to be patient. We have received demand for this program that is certainly unprecedented to any other demand in which the program has been activated for in the past. We are working through tens of thousands of applications for that and expect to get to those applications within a 2-week period of time in which they were submitted. So again, if you haven't heard about your particular application, I would encourage you to just be patient with us as we work through that process or those stacks of applications. Now, Ashley did a great job. You know, the U.S. Small Business Administration, I'm often asked, what is the difference between the Florida SBDC and the SBA? Well, the SBA is our federal agency partner. And in Florida, the Florida SBDC is really the state's principal small business development agency. But during times of disaster, we're a member of the state's emergency response team, and we work hand in hand with our federal agency partners and our state agency partners at the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, and all members of the state's emergency response team responsible for responding to business needs. But we really lead in the effort and the coordination and facilitation of the resources that are available, including the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program, but also in helping access the federal programs that Ashley gave a good overview on. Typically, SBA has disaster loans for businesses, and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is one of those. And Governor DeSantis was very quick, not in just activating the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan, but also applying for the administration to activate the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. But we know that last week that Congress passed the CARES Act, and the President was very quick to sign that. And in that $2 trillion bill included a lot of resources for small businesses. Ashley did a great job of giving you an overview about the Paycheck Protection Program. The agency has been extremely busy rolling out that particular program, and yesterday Treasury and the SBA actually rolled out very specific information about the program, including a standard application. As he indicated, this particular program, the Paycheck Protection Program, which I think is one of the best assets in the CARES bill for small businesses, our Florida small businesses, is going to be done or administered by your local bank. So first and foremost, I encourage all of our small businesses to check out our website, to read through the specific eligibility criteria and the documentation that you're going to need in order to support your application, and also download the program application. And then reach out to your local banker. Your local banker is going to be your best point of contact. Now, they may or may not already be a participating SBA lender, but if they are, then they're going to be able to quickly work you through that process. If they are not, they will be able to refer you to a local bank that can assist you quickly. So that's the best approach that I believe that's available. And he talked about the benefits of that particular program, and that all or most of that loan can be forgiven if you use the proceeds for the defined purpose and really targeted towards sustaining payroll or employment for your business. We also talked about, or he highlighted, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. That's a staple program of SBA's disaster loans. And there's been some expansion with respect to eligibility. So if you applied for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan over the past few weeks, but you were maybe denied, I would encourage you to reapply. Anybody who has been declined for a previous economic injury disaster loan has up to 6 months to appeal that decline. SBA, as a result of the CARES Act, has actually expanded eligibility for this program. So individuals or businesses that did not previously qualify or have the credit worthiness necessary may be eligible today. So I would encourage for them to resubmit their application. And then the third thing in there is anybody who has an existing SBA 7A loan may have also some relief there as well. Ashley highlighted the fact that loan payments could possibly be paid for up to 6 months for anybody who has an existing SBA 7A loan. All of these together, the state's program along with the 3 federal programs, are very significant tools that can offer very significant relief to our small businesses during this very difficult time. I'd be happy to answer any questions as well, Glenda. Turn it over back to you.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. We do have time for questions of both Ashley and Mike. So I'm going to ask the operator at this time to open the line for questions, and she'll introduce each person who desires to ask.
Thank you. As a reminder, you will need to press star 1 on your telephone. To withdraw your question, press the pound or hash key. Please stand by while we compile a Q&A roster. And our first question comes from the line of Robert Boren from Small Business Resources. Your line is open.
Yes, I heard that there was something with the payroll protection plan about $100,000 cap. Is that in reference to if somebody makes more than $100,000, or how does that fit in?
Yeah, this is Ashley Bell, and thank you for that question. That basically is a cap on salaries when it comes to reimbursing, to get no salaries counted as far as payroll protection. So you can only count up to $100,000 of someone's salary when trying to calculate what your loan amount is going to be, and the forgivable amounts will be down the road.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from the line of Greg Davis from Azula Creative. Your line is open.
Hi, yes, I had a question about sole proprietorships because of the loan qualifying statement that you made about it being 2 employees or more. I run a solo business with vendors that do work for me. Is there any type of aid or qualifications for someone like me?
For the state's program, and that's the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program, yes, there are employer requirements, a minimum of 2 employees, but no more than 100. However, the definition of employee is inclusive of W-2s and independent contractors or leased employees that the business may have. A lot of our small businesses utilize, as you said, vendors or independent contractors to do work. So long as you can demonstrate that you paid compensation over the past year to at least 2 independent contractors, then you would be eligible for the state's program. But there are no employee eligibility requirements for the federal programs. Businesses of all sizes are able to access the federal programs.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from the line of Jim Cameron from Daytona Regional Chamber. Your line is open.
Just wanted to check what some of the banks that are available that you may know of. I mean, I guess that also includes our community banks here at the local level. Or how about some of the major banks?
Yeah, I think that any bank that does SBA loans is guaranteed to be able to help you. And then if you know a bank or you work with a bank that is not currently signed up, we can sign them up as well. So anybody's eligible, even down to credit unions we're trying to get online. So all the major banks that do SBA loans, but obviously this is not something we're making them do. It's up to them. They have to, want to do it. But as far as all of the banks we've been working with, everyone that does SBA 7A loans is going to continue to work with us on this payroll protection plan.
And you say credit unions too?
Not all of them, but they can apply. If a credit union who's not currently doing it wants to participate, we can work with them as well. But they'd have to sign up. But if that's a process that they would have to work with our office at SBA getting them approved. But as of right now, if you're talking about who can help you right now, definitely go to any bank that does SBA loans currently.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And our next question comes from the line of Maxine McBride from Clockwork Marketing. Your line is open.
Thank you. Good morning. You made reference to a standard application for PPP that will be ready soon. You can read through the qualifications and download the application. What is the website name to get that?
You can go to SBA's website at disaster loans. There's a page specific for the Paycheck Protection Program. That application is there. It's a standard application, but do note that many lenders, participating lenders, may develop their own application or equivalent or even online application for to do the loan through their particular institution. But that is the standard application. It's a fillable PDF form, and I encourage you to download the form, fill it out, and bring it with you along with all of the other required documents to support that application to your lender.
Okay, what's the SBA website name?
If you just Google SBA Disaster Paycheck Protection Program, you'll find it. Treasury also has it on their website, and we have it on our SBDC website, floridasbdc.org.
Thank you.
You bet.
And our next question comes from the line of Christine Mule from Elite Senior Home Care. Your line is open.
Hi. My question is on the CARES Act because it's saying employees, and the majority of my girls are contractors. So would that still qualify as employees or not really?
They would. They have to. They have to be employees, but the dates I mentioned earlier is if they're independent contractors, they technically kind of have their own business, and they have a date that they can apply for their own assistance as well. So, and I'll restate those dates. So starting April 3rd, small businesses and sole proprietorships can apply. So if that's you, if it's just you by yourself, you can apply starting April 3rd. Now, April 10th, independent contractors, all those folks that you're giving those 1099s to, them and self-employed individuals can apply starting April 10th.
So my office girl would be the only one because she's W-2 would fall under that, correct?
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next question comes from the line of Vittel Hilmer from the Empire Servicing. Your line is open.
All right. I just had a quick question. I know that if someone had an SBA loan before after the hurricane, and then I'm also a small business owner, will the first loan that I had will have any impact on day one if I were to apply for this assistance for my business?
If I understood the question, if you already have an existing loan or you've applied for emergency assistance? Okay. No.
After the hurricane in 2016 in Florida, so I had a small business loan for my house. So I just need to know if that will impact my ability to apply for another one for my business right now.
No, you would be eligible to apply. Each disaster event is looked at as an individual event, and you're able to apply.
Okay. Thank you.
And our next question comes from the line of Paul Smith from Brass Monkey Sports Bar. Your line is open.
Yes, I have a two-part question, if I may. First, insofar as the Paycheck Protection Program, So I pay my employees, but I'm closed. So what am I paying them for? Are they supposed to come in and do something, or I don't quite understand how that works. And number two, my servers and bartenders are paid minimum wage, and most of their income comes from tips. Now, are tips included in what they get paid? How does that work? Thank you.
Ashley, you want to take that one, or do you want me?
Yeah. Well, we can both jump in on that one. I'll start off by saying that the spirit of this law is to make sure that people can stay on people's payrolls. We don't want people not to be paid, but understand that the loan, the payroll protection loan, is not just specifically just for payroll. We're going to look at your payroll, and your lender will be able to use a formula to work with tips and for those individuals that function under a different sort of wage that relies on tips. So your lender will be able to calculate that. But you also are getting this loan to calculate your utility bills, rent that you could be paying at your restaurant. If you have a mortgage, the interest rate, the interest is being paid on that mortgage. So those other factors, as far as utilities, premiums that you may be paying for insurance, health, that sort of thing, are going to be bundled into that loan as well. So yes, a big part of it is we want to protect people's wages, but also the surrounding expenses that you have to maintain your ability to be open or to pay those obligations. We want you to pay your obligations during those 2 weeks, and those obligations include people. So we want to help you pay your rent, utilities. It's just like if you're paying, you got to pay the light bill, got to pay your insurance premium. You may not be using that building right now because it may be closed, but those people still obviously are going to want their payment at the end of the month. So we want to make sure you have the ability to do that for 2 weeks, and that's what the forgivable portion of this is for. So at the end of those 8 weeks, if you can, at end of June 30th, if you can show your lender, and that decision is made at the lender level, that you've kept those people employed, then that loan now becomes a forgivable grant. Mike, you got anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, you explained it pretty well. I would just simply add that when you look at the Paycheck Protection Program, you're not applying for a particular amount, but rather qualifying for a specific amount based on a fixed formula. And the formula is 2.5 times the average monthly payroll cost of the business over the previous year. Now, there are certain inclusions and exclusions, exclusions being anybody who made over $100,000 in total compensation. That's reduced down to that $100,000 cap. So there's a formula fixed there. Up to $10 million is the maximum amount in which a business will be able to access. Now, the amount of the loan that's forgiven, there's an expectation that's out there that 75% of that loaned amount goes towards maintaining staff levels and covering allowable payroll cost for that 8-week period of time after you secure the loan. And that only 25% or less is used for these other operating expenses, such as what Ashley described, most mortgage interest, rent, utilities, those fixed costs that are going to continue to be there regardless if you're open or not. So that's an important element to remember when we talk about the calculation of the forgiveness portion. And your banker, again, is going to be very familiar with that and what you're going to need as it relates to supporting that to get that loan forgiveness. Now, any portion, I guess I would add also is that any portion of that amount that is not forgiven converts into that 2-year term loan with an interest rate of just 0.5 point, 0.5%. Which needs to be prepaid again over that 2-year period of time.
I'm sorry, am I still on?
Yes, sir.
Shall I move on to the next question?
Yes, please.
Our next question comes from the line of Jerry Stein from Sheldon Auto Finance Company. Your line is open.
Yeah, I have a question on, I've seen the form, the Paycheck Protection Program form. On the top, it has boxes like for nonprofit, veterans organization, tribal, independent contract, self-employed. What if you're not one of those categories? You're just an S corp or. or a full
Don't
profit?
worry about it. That's intended for those other eligible organizations that wouldn't normally be eligible for SBA disaster loan programs.
Okay, and in the 12 months that you talked about for the past year for the payroll that you use as your basis, is that a rolling 12 months, or should you be using 2019, or does it not really matter?
It is generally annualized for most businesses. However, there are some exceptions to look at different periods for seasonal businesses or businesses that have not been in business or had payroll for the past 12 months.
So if we have, you would what you use is your 2019 payroll.
Yes, typically it's the payroll for the year, and I believe the guidance is from February 15th of 2019 to February 15th of 2020. I could be wrong on that. The guidance is still rolling out with the specifics, but it's generally looking at the previous 12 months payroll.
The previous year, not a rolling 12, though.
The previous, the rolling 12, the previous 12 months.
Okay, very good.
And our next question comes from the line of Nadine Heights from Heights Immigration Law. Your line is open.
Yeah, hi. Could you please elaborate on that expectation that 75% would be used to maintain staff level, as you said, and 25% used for operating expenses? Does that mean that the loan forgiveness part, for example, does that mean that only 25% of your rent used paid from the proceeds of the loan would be forgiven, or are you just saying in general of the entire loan?
The guidance that's been put out is, if you, for example, borrowed or was qualified for $100,000 due to the formula that I talked about, 2.5 times of the previous rolling 12 months payroll for your business, the expectation is that 75% of that, or $75,000 of that, is used for maintaining staff levels or continuing payroll cost of that 8-week period of time after you receive the loan. Okay, so this is about keeping people employed within the business. And that 25% or less is used for those other allowable costs that can be forgiven. And that's the mortgage interest, the rent, the utility cost. Now, you can use proceeds for other uses as well. However, that wouldn't be forgivable if they're beyond those allowable costs. That's the formula that's sort of kind of been put out there thus far.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that makes sense. So, right. So you're saying that, let's say you did get $100,000, and let's say you did use $75,000 of that for payroll and $25,000 of that for rent, utilities, the allowable things, then the entire $100,000 could be forgiven, right? But if you
that is correct.
Right. Or even if the mix was different, right? So let's say you used, would that be okay? What if your rent proportionally were 50, your rent and utilities were 50,000, and your payroll were only 50,000, but you did use them 100,000 for allowable expenses? Would the whole 100,000 still be forgiven?
In that particular example, where it would be 50,000 used for payroll and 50,000 for the rent or lease cost, then the expectation, based on the guidance that has been released thus far, is only 25,000 of that would be, or I should say, 75,000 of that, the 50,000 for payroll and 25,000 for mortgage, would be the part that's forgiven, and there would be a non-forgivable part of 25,000.
Okay, so you do have to be cautious then that that's the proportionality that they're looking at, right? Because, not everybody has that same proportion of their expenses. That's really important, I think, for people to realize.
Yes, and that's why we're trying to be very clear in the information.
Yeah, I haven't heard that at all from anyone yet, but that's really good to know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you bet.
Our next question comes from the line of Jim Kotsky from Beachcomber Resort. Your line is open.
Yes, I think most of my questions have been answered with these prior calls. So, on the seasonal side, then I think the guidelines were then to look at the February through June window.
That is correct. Yeah, that's the guidance that's been put out thus far.
Yeah,
so there's certain sensitivity given to our seasonal businesses. Yep.
Right, and it's perfect for us considering that definitely is our busiest time of the year. Mm-hmm. And then also on the $100,000 cap, then we would still include those folks that are making greater than $100,000, but we just cap it at the 100 then.
That is correct. Anything in excess of $100,000 would simply be taken out of that amount, out of the basis.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Our next question comes from the line of Jackie Wood from Apex Floor and Furniture. Your line is open.
Yes, hi. We have 2 employees, plus it's my husband and I, and we pretty much just take a draw. We do a Schedule C for us. I guess my question is on the documentation needed for either the PPP or the disaster. We don't have our 2019 tax return completed yet, and I know it's given time now till July. Would we be able to use our 2018, or do we need to get our CPA to get our 19 finalized?
No, you're able to use your 18. Go ahead, Ashley.
No, I think I was going to jump in here just to say that you can use your 18, but you may want to make sure you still have your statements and to show your payroll was being paid in 2019, just so you have that available. And I just wanted to let the callers know I'm going to have to jump off. I just wanted to say that thanks again for the chamber. I have to continue this conversation on Fox 5 in Orlando in 10 minutes, but we'll be in touch soon. If you need anything else from me, please let me know. Mike, thank you so much for your help today.
Thank you, Ashley. To Jackie, to be responsive to your question, on our website, the FloridaSBDC.org website, we actually put like a 1, 2, 3 step process. And step 2 is gathering the required documents that we believe are going to be necessary for this particular loan program that you're going to want to bring with you along with that application form. And it includes 3 years, the previous 3 years of your business tax returns, recognizing that many people have not yet filed their 29 returns. That simply would be then the 2016, 2017, and 2018 returns. Your employer or payroll information, which would include forms like your 941, W-3s or 1099s for independent contractors for those folks. Interim financial statements for 2019, we would encourage that you bring in those, or any interim financial statements that you have for the 2020 year, maybe for the first 2 months of the year. We also think that you should bring your mortgage lease agreement or your business property tax utility bills, as well as those are allowable costs underneath this particular program. Together, you and your banker can help determine exactly what it is that you would be eligible for underneath the Paycheck Protection Program, and those would be the documents that would support that.
Okay, so even though you had mentioned on the payroll side of February 19 to February 20, we actually ended up with our own little disaster. We had all summer 4 months of mold remediation done, so we were kind of closed down, so our payroll's less this year than it normally would have been the last few years. But with having the last 3 years information for all of this, then that can all be calculated in, is what you're saying.
I think it can, but again, the rules are they're just brand new coming out, so it's really not clearly understood how to deal with extraordinary circumstances like yours.
Okay, I appreciate the information. Thank you.
You bet.
Our next question comes from the line of David Arm from Listanza Fitness. Your line is open.
Yeah, I have 2 quick questions. First of all, hello. 2 quick questions. First of all, can chambers of commerce, local chambers of commerce, apply for Paycheck Protection Program 503c6 organizations?
I do not believe that they're currently eligible. It's actually one of the questions that I have received that I'm doing a little homework on, given that they're in a C6 status. But what I will do is do that research, and if you want to reach out to me directly, I'd be more than happy to let you know.
Great, thanks very much. The second one is, it seems like we've gotten some conflicting information on 1099s. I own a fitness center, which has regular W-2 employees plus 1099s as instructors and personal trainers. Can we include those 1099s in our payroll, or do they need to apply separately?
No, they need to apply separately. For the Paycheck Protection Program, they need to apply separately.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it can be somewhat confusing, and so therefore I would recommend those that there's 3-4 different opportunities that are available to small businesses, and I know that these are all government-backed opportunities or loans, and that can be somewhat confusing. I strongly encourage that anybody that needs an individual assistance in navigating this or helping prepare the applications, you have the Florida SBDC at your hands. You can contact your local SBDC by visiting sbdc.org. We have certified disaster specialists that will provide no-cost consulting to assist you in applying for any of this disaster assistance. So you can just reach out to your local SBDC to get that help.
And our next question comes from the line of Kevin Murphy from MSL. Your line is open. Kevin Murphy, MSL, your line is open.
Hi, I had a question on the application regarding the spot for number of jobs. Is that, during the year we have some turnover in jobs. People terminate and then we replace. Do you know if we're supposed to count that as one job or just sum up everybody?
Kevin, that's a great question. My assumption would be the total number of people that you employed during that 12-month period of time. I think that's probably what it's intended to include. So that's what I would list. But it could also mean the number of people employed at the time in which the loan is applied for as well. I wish I had clear guidance for you, but
yeah, it's pretty fluid. If I could just confirm, I think what you said earlier regarding when computing the average monthly payroll, you are saying that we should be taking a fiscal year of ending 2/15, right, and not going to the calendar year of 2019, right?
That is my that's my understanding. But by bringing your financial documents with you, your banker will be the one that will help you determine that, calculate that. Okay. Don't feel like you need to actually have to figure that out. Your banker should be able to assist you in that.
Okay. And then on the questions, if this group, if the applying company has nobody that has greater than 20% ownership, I guess we just ignore questions 5, 6, and 7, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was in there as well. Generally, if an owner had 20% or more, there were certain additional requirements with respect to what was necessary for the loan application. I thought that information was being waived in accordance with the Act.
Yeah.
So I would leave it blank.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Our next question comes from the line of Robert Boren from Small Business Resources. Your line is open.
Yeah, I didn't catch that last 20%, but wanted to ask a specific question. I have a corporation that has invested, and they own over 20%. And on the application form, do they need to fill this out? Because it says certifications. The business in each 20% or greater owner must certify. I haven't talked to them in years, and just wanted to see, because they're a corporation, do they have to get involved?
They waive the affiliate issue with respect to these programs, and I don't believe that they need to. But I wouldn't necessarily quote me on that. Bring that question with you to your banker when you apply for the program.
Okay.
They'll probably have better information at the time in which these loans are going to start to be made. And I think Ashley expressed those timelines earlier. I don't think they're going to start accepting those applications until next Monday. We expect that we're going to get more clarity as it relates to the regulations of these programs, over the next 24 to 48 hours.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Our next question comes from the line of Sang Lee from Andrews Bridal. Your line is open.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for this conference call. I just have a quick two-part question.
question one is, so I'm still waiting to hear back from my bridge loan application, and if my employees would file the unemployment benefits, will I still get the bridge loan to cover the expenses of my business? And the second question is, I want to see if there's a difference between the bridge loan and the payroll protection. Is it the two separate entities, or?
Yes, it is. Yes, the bridge loan, the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan, is a state of Florida state taxpayer-backed small business loan, and has different terms and other requirements than the federal loan, that you're talking about, which is the Paycheck Protection Program. As I said, we're working through the applications received, and you have flexibility as it relates to the utilization of those resources. Now, these programs do work hand in hand. The expectation is that if you receive federal assistance, that longer-term assistance, that you use those proceeds to repay your bridge loan. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. So how about the unemployment benefits from my employees? Would that affect my application eligibility?
No. With the Paycheck Protection Program, the idea is that this will be an opportunity for you to actually hire back those employees to your company and begin paying them once again. And that portion of that payroll can be forgiven.
Oh, okay. I see. Thank you so much.
You bet.
And our next question comes from the line of Elizabeth Mosinski from Q Argo Chamber of Commerce. Your line is open.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you clarification on the 501Cs. 501C3s and 501C19s are the only nonprofits that can apply at this time. They were hoping to maybe get it in the next stimulus package, but only the 501C3s and 501C19s veterans organizations can apply. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
And our final question today will come from the line of Paul Smith from Brass Monkey Sports Bar. Your line is open.
Yes. I like the comments about bringing this documentation to visit your banker when you apply and getting your mortgage and all this stuff. We bank with Chase, and I received an email from them yesterday saying in no uncertain terms, do not come in, do not call us, apply online. So I'm not quite sure how I'm supposed to have one of those conversations with my banker about that information. And then the second question is, I assume we can apply both for the Paycheck Protection Program and the SBA disaster loan. Thank you. I'll take the answer.
Yeah, no, great point, and I appreciate you bringing that up. When I said, go to your local banker, I am not meaning physically knocking on their doors. I know many of the banks have been closed, but are working virtually to assist those individuals. And as I said earlier, yes, a lot of the larger banks are actually developing online applications for the Paycheck Protection Program. So if you bank with one of those, or your banker may even have one already set up, just simply reach out to them or go to their website for that. As it relates to applying for both the Paycheck Protection Program and the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loans, yes, you can apply for both. However, you are unable to use the proceeds, if you're approved for both, for the same purposes. So you're going to want to be very strategic in the sense of which one it is that you use for what purpose. If your goal is to receive a Paycheck Protection Program loan and have that loan forgiven, just keep in mind the criteria that we spoke earlier about in the utilization of those sources for payroll purposes, and then use the economic injury disaster loan that you may be approved for all of those other operating expenses. That would be the best way to maximize the opportunity of the two programs. And again, you can talk or sit down with one of your local SBDC disaster loan specialists who can walk you through this and assist you in this process as well. When I say sit down, I mean call them and talk to them virtually by phone or by online.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
I'll now turn the call back over to our presenters for closing remarks.
Thank you very much. And Mike, thank you. You pulled the heavy load this morning. We really appreciate it. And, of course, we appreciate Administrator Bell being able to join us for the time that he was and all that both of you are doing to assist businesses during this time and answer questions. As we close out today's call, I again want to provide you with some resources and information that might be helpful to you. If you're not receiving the Florida Chamber daily updates, and I look at them every day and they're extremely helpful, I again encourage you to visit floridachamber.com/coronavirus, and you can sign up at the top of the page. Additionally, I'm very pleased to announce that we're going to have another Small Business Council webinar on Tuesday, April the 7th at 11:30 a.m., and we're going to be again joined by Administrator Bell, and then we'll also have some SBA lenders on hand to answer questions, and I know there were a lot of questions related to that this morning, so that should be helpful to you. So look for that invitation. As I mentioned, the Florida Chamber and the Small Business Council remain committed to providing information and additional resources to small businesses in the coming days and weeks. And if you have an immediate question, you can contact Carolyn Johnson at cjohnson@flchamber.com. Again, that's cjohnson@flchamber.com. And if she doesn't know the answer to your question, I can assure you that she's going to find the person who does. So that concludes today's call. Everyone, please stay safe, and we hope you'll be able to join us again next week. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's conference call. Thank you for participating. You may now disconnect. 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 You may now disconnect.